Hey everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video we are going to be talking about grad school, and I've just finished my first semester of grad school studying for a master's in history. So I thought I'd give you a video about what the workload is like, what I've been studying, what the assessments have been like, and all of those sorts of things, just in case maybe that's something you are considering doing. So just for context, I have a degree in finance and economics, which I finished last year, and I currently work full-time in a financial technology startup. So this is something that I'm doing on the side. I do it part-time. Certainly the experience would be different if you did do it in a full-time capacity, but that's not something that I'm choosing to do. So just to give you an idea of the workload, the standard unit requires 10 hours of work per week, is what the recommendation is. So that includes teaching time, which is usually 2 to 3 hours per week, and then your independent reading and studying time. So I'm doing 2 units, or I did do 2 units in the first semester, so that meant that the recommended time was about 20 hours. I found I didn't need quite that much time. Certainly you could put in that much time if you wanted to read absolutely everything that was provided to you, but I didn't feel it was necessarily needed to get a good mark. In terms of the units that I did, I took 2 units this semester. First one was called What is History? It was basically the History 101 course, and effectively what the unit was doing was explaining and exploring the idea of what the study of history is, how we study history, the various factors that go into creating the historical texts that we have. How do you create a biography? How do you create a history? How primary sources are collated and stored, and how you can use primary sources. So all sorts of things like that. For the text that we actually used E.H. Carr's What is History? That was our primary text that we went to throughout the semester, and then we also had various chapters and extracts on other books that we could use to contrast various opinions on the topic at hand for that week. My other course was what is kind of billed as a third-year undergraduate course, or a final-year undergraduate course. In Australia we have 3-year undergraduate degrees instead of 4, as I know in some places in the world they do. So it's a final-year undergraduate course, and it was Modern Europe in War and Peace, and basically taking the dates 1914 up to effectively the present, and that basically traced all the way through the end of, basically we touched a little bit on the First World War, but mainly on the aftermath of the First World War into the Second World War, and really focusing on the battle between liberal democracy, socialism and fascism. And so that for that we used a couple of books. We primarily referenced, do I have it here? Here. So we primarily referenced a few books. So we had Dark Continent, Europe's 20th Century by Mark Mazower. That was kind of the first reference that we used. We then moved on to using Post-War, A History of Europe since 1945. Obviously this focuses on just after the Second World War, whereas this one was used for more context prior to the Second World War, sorry. And then we also had some references to Ian Kershaw's entries to the Penguin History of Europe. So that is To Hell and Back, Europe 1914 to 1949, and Roller Coaster, Europe 1950 to 2017. So those are the books that we reference in that course as our primary references at least, and then we also had again chapters from other books that we pulled out and used those as references and different perspectives on whatever topic we were touching on that week. So we had a week on Nazism, we had a week on fascism, we had a week on Bolshevism and the Russian Revolution. We had a week on like economics, on or Western economics, Eastern economics. So we had a whole range of things that we focused on. And then in terms of the assignments, for that unit I had to write a research essay. I focused on the economics of Western Europe in the 1950s and 1960s, and I had to hand in an essay plan where I detailed which sources I wanted to use, which secondary sources I wanted to use, how I thought my argument was going to be structured, and effectively give the outlines of my argument to my examiner, and then he gave me some feedback based on that. He pointed out some sources that he thought I had missed, and some areas that my research wasn't going deep enough, and then I could take that feedback and then go on and write the research essay. That research essay was 3,000 words, so it's definitely on the shorter end for a piece of history writing. It only works out to be about 10 or 12 pages, but the idea was to really craft that research process, understanding what types of sources are useful for what, and how to use them, how to integrate primary research, rather than focusing on the writing itself. That will come later on during the degree. So overall, what I've gained from the degree so far is I am already noticing that I'm engaging with the stuff I'm reading at a much deeper level, and I'm pulling out more than previously I would have. For example, I'm currently reading, I'll just grab it from behind me here. I'm currently reading Ian Kershaw's Hitler. This is in anticipation of a course I'm taking next semester on Nazi Germany. So I thought I would read the biography, and I read only about 200 pages, and then as luck would have it, on the Rest is History podcast they had Ian Kershaw on. I'll link that down below. And a lot of the things that he was talking about in respect to Hitler's early life, I had managed to pull out of the book. And they're things that I think 6 months ago I would have probably just read over and not really internalized what Kershaw was saying. So definitely I've learned to read it at a much more critical level, the history books that I'm reading. So that is really crucial. But other than that, like, I think my writing skills are getting really strong, or getting much stronger. My knowledge of European history is much stronger than it was, just from a more holistic viewpoint. And I have a lot of confidence that I can go into a historical topic and understand it both at a primary and a secondary level. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight. Obviously I'm very early on in this degree. I'll keep you up to date as I go. It'll be several years that I'll be studying this, and I imagine I'll look back on this video and be a little bit embarrassed by what I saw. But thank you for watching the video. I'll be back with more book videos very soon. I've just finished Stephen Kotkin's Stalin, so I will have a review and some thoughts on that book up very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.